Take it over, girl.
All right. Hello. Welcome again. It's great to be with you. Today we're going to do Yin Yang. So a little bit more of a active practice to begin our class. So depending on your energy level, I thought we'd start off with Surya Madana to get us all on the same page in terms of bringing up the energy and turning the fire on. So find a comfortable seat. Sitting in Sukhasana. So Surya meaning sun, and Vedana is to pass through or to pierce. So what we're going to do is inhale right, exhale left, and we're going to keep on that circulation. So always inhaling on the right, always exhaling on the left. You can use Nasagra Mudra or Vishnu Mudra. I'm sure you're using that with your Anuloma Viloma. So you'll be, I use these two fingers here on the third eye. That's to assist in quieting the mind as well. Just adding a gentle pressure between the brow is nice. Also, if you have any sort of migraine issues or anything like that, it can kind of diffuse tension from the temples. And we're going to do this for about a minute or so, just to awaken the Pingala channel in us, so we're all ready to move. So first off, just breathing naturally, aligning your spine from the root upwards. Maybe doing a little bit of wobbling forward and back on your sit bones. And cleansing breath or two. Closing the eyes. And we'll begin plugging the left nostril. Inhale right. Plugging right, exhale left. Plugging left, inhale right. Plugging right, exhale left. Continue at your own pace. Realizing there are contraindications for Surya Vedana. You wouldn't want to be doing this if you have high blood pressure or heart condition. Always inhaling right. Exhaling left. And a sound associated with this breath is ha. Awakening the fire within the Manipura chakra. Storehouse of our personal power and energy. Drawing fire into the body, increasing our body temperature, increasing our energy level. Full focus. Notice if you can feel the difference. As the right nostril begins to open more, to stimulate Pingala. Okay, just a few more breaths. Last one. exhaling left. You can remove the mudra. Deep breath through both nostrils. And exhale with a ha. Ha. And blinking the eyes open. Coming to standing. We begin with the yang portion of the class. And in this practice today, I'm really going to encourage you to be moving with your pace of breath. So we're going to be having a sequence of movements, 2 postures, where we go in between them. And I don't want everybody to feel like they have to move with my cues. The intention is to have you move with your breath. So I'm going to take a wider stance today, about shoulder width apart instead, and this will help alleviate any tension in the spine as we begin our practice. Softening into the knees, and maybe just wiggling here a little bit. Shaking is always really good in terms of moving energy through the body. Including that ha is very nice. Cleansing through the Manipura chakra. Okay, good. So we begin. Inhaling the arms up. Exhaling the arms down. At the pace of your own breath. Expanding through the palms, opening the rib cage. Maybe inhaling all the way up and onto toes. Checking in with your sense of balance today. Having a soft focus of the eyes. An internalized practice. Moving into right arm only when it's right for you. Inhaling up and over to the left side. Inhaling it to rise up. Exhaling the arm down. Inhaling left arm up. Exhaling over. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Again, moving at the pace of your breath. That may be too quick for you. Maybe you want to slow it down entirely. Maybe you want to hold on one side before rising up. So adding some freedom into your practice today. Everybody's moving at a different pace, on a different breath, in a different way. Back and forth again. Don't be too concerned about having even numbers from right side to left or anything like that. And maybe finishing off your last side reach, whatever side you're on. And exhaling both arms down. Next 2 moves, we're going to do Pritavakasana, our back bend, and Uttanasana, forward fold. When you rise up from your forward fold, I'd like you to bend the knees to engage the quads. Inhale as you rise up. You can have arms up overhead. If that's too much for your low back, you can keep the hands to the waist. Please try to focus on a lift from the heart in your Pritavakasana. You don't want to be thrusting the hips forward too much. Try to lift from the heart and curve from the upper thoracic spine. This is often where we're locked up a lot. So try to create some focus here and opening the heart today in your back bend. Inhaling into your back bend. Maybe holding here, maybe not. That's up to you entirely. And then exhaling into your forward fold. And maybe while you're down here, you want to shake the arms out or nod your head yes and no. Always using the legs to rise up on an inhale. Forward and back. Creating a nice energy flow and an increase of energy flow and blood and oxygen through the body. Awakening the spine, increasing the fluid between the vertebrae. And bring arms overhead does increase that blood pressure and heart rate, which is not for everybody, as well as in your forward fold. Some people might need to keep their head above or in line with heart. You can have your eyes closed or open. Learning to feel what's right for you, how many breaths you need in each space. And I'll meet you at the bottom of your next forward fold. And then I'll have you bend your knees and bring your fingertips to the floor and lift and lower the heels off the floor. If that's too low, you can have hands onto knees instead or onto a block in front of you. Moving up and down on the feet, awakening the fascia of the feet, increasing the strength of the arches, which is really crucial in terms of the health of your knees and hips as well. You can sync this movement with your breath. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Okay, lowering heels down, bending the legs, rising up on an inhale. This time straight up, arms extended, hands wide open, fold at the top. And exhale the arms around down to the sides. Okay, now we're going to take a wider stance in your Padottanasana stance. So one little trick I heard about that Iyengar would do, and he would do this with children, to kind of override the mind's choice of where you want to step out. If you take your fingertips to about chest height here, we just inhale deeply, and I'm going to jump out. So take a deep breath, if you want. Exhale. Now this way, I haven't allowed my mind to make that choice for me. My body has chosen the proper width. If you want to adjust that, that's up to you. Inhaling back into a back bend, lifting the heart. Exhaling, keeping the arms out to the side, strengthening the spine, arms in line with shoulders, back straight, coming forward. And then letting the arms come down to the legs. I've got my head in line with heart here. You can go lower if you like. Looking down at the feet, making sure your toes are parallel to each other, heels as well. Some may need a soft bend in the knees here. If you'd like to have more sensation around the outer leg, you can bring the toes slightly inwards. You could have your hands on blocks here or to the floor. Stretching in through the hamstrings. And I'm not necessarily rounding my spine to take myself further here. Okay, walking the hands over to the right side. Taking a nice big inhale. Exhaling back to center. Walking the hands over to the left. In now. Exhale back to center. Back and forth at your own pace now. And again, you can have a number of breaths on one side before you go to the other, or one breath per side. Start to notice if you are tighter on one side, spend longer there. Breathing into the back of the rib cage as well, noticing how the breath is affected by the slight compression on one side and the opening on the other. You're bringing yourself back to the center, and then lifting yourself onto the balls of the toes slightly, bring the heels in. And you may need more than one step. If you feel like you need to stand up and take a break, please do. Otherwise, I'm going to bring my elbows to the knees. I'm going to let my feet come down. Okay, stay where you are. I just want to show you from the side angle here. Something really common when you get this lordosis of the spine. So playing with what your pelvis is doing here is encouraged. Checking in with the upper back. Lifting the shoulders, this isn't about being super low. And then sitting your weight into the heels and wiggling the toes. Moving side to side. Again, this is something you might need to stand up and take a break from, and then go back into. Learning to listen to the body's cues and feel freedom in your practice. This is inspired by Eric Schiffman, who does Freedom Yoga. I highly recommend taking a look at what he's doing. He really teaches a lot about alignment-based principles and then gives you freedom to flow. Takes away the rigidity of your practice, rising when you need to, allowing that circulation to flush into the legs and then get back in there. I'm using my elbows here to push the knees away from each other. And you're looking for roughly a knee to ankle alignment. It may not get there, but that's what we're working towards. Opening up the adductors and releasing all the tissues around the pelvis here. This is excellent work for people that work in offices. Sitting all day is very difficult. So giving them that freedom to go in and out of the pose is wonderful. Their breath will stop. They'll literally stop breathing. You can shift side to side. Rising straight up. Reaching up and back into a slight back bend if you'd like. Exhaling the hands to prayer at heart center. And heel toe in. Into Tadasana, arms rotated forward facing. Relax your shoulders. Let's have a few cleansing breaths and feel that heat in the hips, through the front of the hip. Soften the glutes, they might be gripping along with the left muscles of the legs. Remembering that yin breath, that long exhalation will stimulate relaxation. All right, so the next sequence is a few poses that we're going to thread together. Same freedom goes in terms of how many breaths you take in each pose. I'm going into a Virabhadrasana 2 pose, Warrior 2. So you're looking for a knee to ankle alignment on the front leg here. Back foot in line with the back edge of your mat. Hands extended, arms reach in line with shoulders, or if you prefer, you can keep them here. So the poses that we're going to thread here are Warrior 2, And I'll inhale here. I'll exhale as I rotate my palm. And then I'm going to inhale into reverse warrior. Humble warrior here. Making sure I'm not going to compress here. It's more about lifting here than falling back. My exhalation will bring me back here. I'll run through this again. And then my inhalation will bring me into extended side angle. Okay, so making sure that you take all the necessary adjustments you need to. This is too low, coming to here. If you want to go lower, that's up to you. This is a flowing practice. So the less props that you have to use, the better. Just move smaller. So warrior two. Inhale here. Exhale, rotate the palm. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, back to warrior two. Inhale, extended side angle. Exhale, back to warrior two. I'll guide you one more time. Inhale, rotate the palm. Exhale here. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, back to warrior two. Inhale, extended side angle. Continue at your own pace now. Maybe you want to stay in one of these poses for a longer period of time. Keep your head and neck where they're happy. You can also follow with your drishti to the upper hand. Anytime you include this drishti activation, you're going to challenge your sense of balance. May not be good for somebody who has whiplash to do that sort of thing, or vertigo. And don't worry if you end up moving on your exhalation instead of inhalation. Just do notice how the breath is affecting each pose. Watching you don't lose the alignment of your legs. Temperature should be nice and warm in the body by now. So Yang is a very moving, strengthening practice. Wonderful to combine with the Yin practice. Preferably for myself, I'd say before. Wake people up, move them around, and then zen them out. Okay, I'll meet you in your next warrior two. Take your time getting there. And then I'm going to just straighten up the leg. I'm going to pivot on the heel and I'm going to switch sides. Keeping my arms here because I'm strengthening my shoulders. If you need to take a break, feel like you can. Aligning now my left knee over ankle, wiggling the toes slightly, remembering that I'm using muscle activation here in the glutes to draw my knee back over the ankle. I'm not allowing it to sink in at all. If this hip is coming forward a lot, making my stance a little bit smaller to something that my body can manage. Shoulders over hips. And begin on the other side. This is a beautiful, free-flowing practice. I love doing this sequence of standing poses on vacation. You don't need a mat to do this. It's a full body activation. And everything moving. Check in with everything. The strength of your legs, the openness of your chest, the strength of your back. Everything connecting with your breath through your movement, you'll notice, is the mind too busy? Am I losing myself in my practice? Not forgetting the importance of breath. Always our guide to tell us, are we taking this too far? Your breath will not be able to flow if you allow the ego to control your practice. Oh, reaching and expanding in all of these lovely, strengthening, awakening, yang poses. Whew. Definitely warm here at Calvary today. And I'll meet you back into Virabhadrasana number 2. Whew. Allowing the arms to come down. Give them a roll. And straighten out that front leg. Pivot on the heel, come forward. Check that your toes, again, are in line here. And your heels as well. Maybe taking the toes slightly inwards if you'd like to get more onto the outer ankle and calf. Big breath in, back bend if you choose, or straight up. Exhale, bring those arms out to the side, keeping that strengthening aspect here. Keeping the spine straight, legs straight. Hold, head in line with heart. So I'm reaching a lot through the middle fingers, all the way from my armpit. I'm trying to create expansion through the chest, all while strengthening through the shoulder blades as well. If you need to let your head kind of become loose here, do some gentle turns. If you're feeling tension in the neck, you might need to allow the head to come down. You might need to hang the whole body down instead. So people that don't have a lot of strength here in the low back, got to be sensitive to that. This is quite a lot of work on the spine. A lot of body weight away from that pelvic point. Okay, so next we're just going to have twists here. So I'm going to exhale and let my left hand come down to the floor or onto a block, and the right hand up. This might be too big. You might want to take that top arm to the waist instead. And you want to focus on rotating this upper right shoulder. You're going to feel this a lot in the adductor on the left side, so the opposite way from which you're turning. Watch that the legs don't bend here. And on my exhale, I'll come down to the center and I'll inhale to the other side. I like to use fingertips on this bottom hand. It's really stimulating for the fingertips, for our neurological pathways of the body. So I'm just rotating from side to side, and you do the same at the pace that's right for you. Inhaling as you open, exhaling as you come out on each side. And again, with the neck and the head and your drishti, you might be better off to just keep it down towards the floor or follow that upper hand with your gaze. If you'd like to take this a little bit deeper, that's a choice as well. Instead of having the hand in the center, you take it further over towards the right foot as you turn right. And same goes for the other side. So really twisting, deep twist here, really digestive, activating. Stretching through the legs. It's still lots of strengthening for upper body. So a lot of the yang practices are focused on that upper body aspect and the upper 4 chakras as well. Whereas yin is the lower 3 chakras. Such a grounding practice. Lots of lower body work. And then I'll get you to come down to the center. And again, I'm going to have you lift up now. Bring your head up in line with spine if you're really low there. And I'm going to bring my hands to the knees, maybe just lift up even higher. I might have to take a heel toe in here. Okay, because the next ones we're going to do might challenge that flexibility of the adductors here. We're going to look for an alignment now. Toes are forward facing. If you need to stand up and take a break, go ahead. If you need to alleviate any tension in your low back, it's talking to you. Always listen to that. So I'm going to look at here on this foot on the right side. I've got the toe and heel forward facing. And I'm looking to roughly a knee to ankle alignment on this side. I'm going to feel strengthening here in the right leg, stretching here in the adductor on the left leg. And then I'm going to be lifting up and over to the other side. So some people have to do this standing like this. Okay, this is a modification that I'll provide, especially those with low back concerns, just keeping the shoulders right over hips. As soon as I come forward, that's work for my low back. So maybe staying up here. Everyone's moving back and forth with the pace of their own breath. Holding for as long or little as you like on each side. Some people are down here. Okay, so this would be on the other end of things. Those that want to get a really deep stretch in here. And I'm not down here unless I can be there without compromising the safety of my spine. So notice how straight my back is able to still be with hands to floor. Okay, so if you notice that in your clients that they're really rounding, which I won't show you, they're really rounding to touch the floor, just maybe point out that they want to be able to do this movement with a nice straight back, not risking the safety of their vertebrae. Okay, there's other things I can add on to this sort of movement, bringing my upper body towards the straightened leg. So I want to watch here, but I still maintain the alignment of the leg over here. So still keeping that rough knee to ankle alignment over here. I can walk my upper body towards the straight leg. I can bring my head with it. And that's a really generous stretch through the rib cage, under the armpits. Really great for lymphatic drainage, opening up the rib cage in terms of having a better breath, a larger breath. All right, and then coming to the center. Hands either here or down to the floor. If they're not to the floor, bend your knees till they can get there. And bring yourself down to knees. We're moving into our yin portion of the class now. So I'm going to take this blanket here and I'm going to put it underneath my knees because I love them and that's nice for them. And I'm going to take my blocks now, or something that you have that can elevate your arms slightly. Moving into the child's pose, Balasana. I can sit on a bolster if I like. And I mentioned last week how knees wide, toes together maintains that straight spine. So that might be something you want to use here. I'm going to focus on that straight spine as I demonstrate. And you can take a regular child's pose here if you like. I'm going to show you a few options. So the first option would be your child's pose. Either head to floor or head on the block with the nose hanging on the front edge. Okay, so that's a mild child's pose. Full extent of the pose is melting heart. This is a lot more dramatic. We're going to have our elbows on 2 blocks. So you need some space for your head to go between these 2 blocks. And to measure the distance for your elbows, take your hands in 2 L's, link them up into your elbows. And then you're making sure your elbows are proper distance apart from each other. Placing them on the blocks, and with your hands you can have them cupped into fists, you can have them straight like this. That's going to affect the shoulder differently. So those with rotator cuff injuries, you might just want to give them those options. So here I just allow my head to come now through the block. And I'm not forcing my head down to the ground or anything like that. This is a really generous opening or between the scapula, between the shoulder blades. If you don't have a lot of lift underneath the elbows, you might be able to touch your head to the floor. It's not about that, but it's okay if it does. Getting a nice compression of the hips, compression of the knees. So we're really, after we've got all that yang fluid moving around in the body, now we compress and squeeze these areas so that when we open up, they're all refreshed. We're replenishing the fluids of the body, moving energy blockages. Remembering in the in the yin postures, you're finding a sense of stillness. Find what works for you, what targets right now here, that space between your shoulder blades. Feel that generous opening. You can put a little pressure into the elbows and drag back. That's going to start to get a nice stretch in the triceps. Focusing your breath into the upper back. And then using an in-breath, pushing into the elbows to assist that lift, weight of the head. And then walking the hands towards the knees. Bringing the knees together. And then removing, if you have anything underneath your seat, just removing that. Sitting yourself back onto the heels. Sliding the head over the hips, letting the shoulders relax. So when you're in that forward fold, the weight of the head there is really pulling down and lengthening through the thoracic spine. So we want to get the people sitting back up and bring that regular gravitational compression back, what their body's used to. When they're down in this way, they're stretching through the vertebrae, they're opening up. So you want to allow that to kind of go back to what it's used to, or having them move around too quickly after a pose like that. And that one I usually hold a little bit longer. Like I mentioned before last week, you can hold these poses 3 minutes, 5 minutes. The longer you're in a pose, the longer you should take to come out of it. Okay, so the next one we're going to go to, you can come off of your blanket. You might want to use it for some support. This is a deer pose. A little bit different than what you're used to, but I'm going to take your right leg, and this is the top. I'm using my black mat now, so this is the top of my mat. I'm going to line up my shin and my knee to the corner so that my thigh is coming down this edge. So it's like this 90-degree angle with my front right leg here. And then with my back leg, this is going to be really dependent on what's comfortable for people's low backs. Some people are going to need to prop up here. If they don't want to have their seat floating off the ground, that's okay. Sometimes there's an ankle injury here, or the hardness of the floor is bothering them, or here they might need support between the legs. And the top leg really can go in a number of places. So from smallest to largest, it would be stacked. And this is going to be a lying down pose. That's completely different than what I'll show you here. But you've got to be aware on alternate poses in Yin, because not everybody can do a pose. So you have to think about, how can I step this back? It may look like a completely different pose and target a different area, and that's okay. But for today's purpose, I'm going to bring this top leg the farther back. It goes here. The more open I need to be here in order to get this foot on top of the thigh here. So now this shin is running parallel with the side of this mat. This is at the top, this is the other side. If that works for your body, great. Now what we're looking for in this pose is to feel some slight compression. In the low back, we're going to feel squishing and tension and opening. Okay, this can be a very intense pose. I encourage you to breathe through what you're feeling. If it's really not jiving with you, getting out of it. Okay, and to get out of the pose, I'll show you. Let's say I'm in it, so I might as well get you in it. Inhale and rise up here. Now I'm going to come over this front right leg, keeping my back straight. So there might be a little bit of compression here in the hip, but nothing restricting me from moving. Now normally in this pose, we'd be kind of lying off in this direction. But in this Yin pose, we're working towards going towards the back. Okay. So I'm walking here. It's maybe a little strange if you haven't done this before. You don't want to feel compression on the left side. Okay, that's the side where I'm reaching. If I take it too far, it's going to feel pinching. Okay, so you need to back off the mat. We're looking to feel stretch on the right side, piriformis, so through the back, through the glutes. I don't want to feel any pain in my knees. I don't want to feel pain in my spine or anywhere for that matter. But you need to try to find a way that you can target the body here in the glutes. So some need to stay here up on the hands, and it's very small. It's just like this. They feel it here. And now keep in mind that some people are going to feel, oh, I don't feel anything in my glutes. It's all over here in my back. Okay, so this is going to show you a little bit of their story about what's restricting them to get into the access point of the pose that you're trying to target. So this is where your experience teaching is going to come in handy, because you have an arsenal of poses to choose from. If you want to get your clients to be stretching a certain area and they're not feeling it there, you need to learn how to adjust their body, change the posture completely, and give them the freedom to be doing a totally other posture than what you're teaching, so that they can get into that target area. So this one, I could be up here. I personally like to take this one down to elbows. This is where I need to be for my body to start to feel this through the back of the leg on the right side. And if people take this pose too low, they're going to experience numbness and tingling in this foot, in which case they need to get over there. You could also have the bolster here underneath the arms instead. You could have your head resting on the bolster. And when I'm teaching a Yin class, it's very interactive. I'm constantly talking with everybody and encouraging them to tell me if they're not feeling it, where I'm telling them, wave me over so that I can come assist them in the pose. Because you don't want somebody sitting in a pose for a long time, especially if they're uncomfortable. And people aren't always comfortable opening up and telling you that. So you need to put that out there for people, that you're open to working with them one-on-one. Walking around the class, watching for people, watching for signs of discomfort in their hands, in their face, in their breath. And getting out of this pose is using an inhalation is pretty much the best way to increase contraction of the entire body to protect your body before you move. So I'm always saying inhale. You can feel the contraction that takes place as you do that. You lift to your hands, crisscross the hands if they're really deep, kind of bring your upper body back so you're alleviating that pressure off the front of the hip. And then I just let my legs slowly straighten out, moving into Shavasana as slowly as I can without disrupting too much, allowing the body to lengthen and relax. So a big release here in the low back is usually experienced, and lots of heat in that right hip where we just compress the area. Yin is about compression to create nourishment. Yang, stretch and strengthen. You might feel sensations at the bottom of the feet. One leg might feel a little longer than the other. Just taking the time between sides to notice whatever it is to be noticed. Inhaling and reaching. Exhaling, I'll bring a bend into the knees. And then I'll just roll to my side and come on up to do the other side. So aligning the shin to the top of the mat, the quad here, making this 90-degree angle. I know you can't really see that because I'm all black today. Choosing your leg position from a knees to stacked, sliding, sliding, sliding down towards the foot. Sometimes it's nice to even cradle the knee here in the arch of the foot, especially if you don't have the props. Then you can just have that knee sitting into the arch of the foot. It's nice and soft instead of a hard floor. In case you have an MCL injury or something like that you need to protect. Or you can bring this top leg farther back. It's kind of overkill a little bit when you see people going something like this. I usually encourage them to just go on the yin side of things, gentle, feminine, compassionate practice. I inhale as I lengthen. And I exhale as I come forward over the front leg. Doesn't have to be far. Where do I feel the stretch? Back here on the left side. And depending on how your leg bone enters the pelvis here, okay, some of them are right in the front, some of them are more on the side, will affect how much compression someone's experiencing here through the front of the hip. And some people are going to feel this here on the inside of the adductor. Those people that have lots of low back tightness are probably going to get a very deep stretch here on the inside of the thighs. It's really going to help alleviate that back pressure. Hands as they need to be to support you. So another option is to cradle the head in the hands. If you do this sort of thing, you need to make sure that you're not cranking your neck up. Okay, so trying to keep your head in a healthy alignment with the rest of the spine. Kind of hard on the elbows on the hard floor, so you might want to have something soft. principle of tensegrity, I'm just going to mention that again. If you're feeling compression somewhere, there's stretching on the opposite side. And sometimes you're going to feel the compression aspect more than the stretching. And in your regular hatha practice, you might be used to noticing the stretching part or the lengthening part. But here, we're paying attention to that compression sensation, squeezing out. And it's not squeezing out so much that it's causing nerve pinching scenario or something where you're getting pins and needles. It's too much. You can have a nice long relaxing breath. We don't want things contracting to deal with what we've chosen in our pose in our yin practice. So sometimes you may need to scan other parts of the body, like your belly. Is your belly really gripping here? Or this upper inactive leg, is it activated unnecessarily? And instead of coming up out of this pose, you can go down to Shavasana. Don't worry about which way your head is on your mat. It doesn't matter. I'm already close to the ground here. I can inhale, push myself into my hands. I can kind of just walk over, lie down. Really hone in on the juiciness of the feeling of blood going back into those compressed areas. Because you can really feel this. You can feel the blood flow, feel the nourishment, and feel the flush of energy through the nadis. Just rolling your head side to side. Finding that flat back to your skull. Resting there. Letting the feet flop out to the sides. Rotating the palms upwards towards the ceiling. Allowing the fingers to curl into the palms as they naturally would. Letting the teeth be parted, tongue soft, lips closed. Glutes relax, the lower back soften, the belly soft. Making one more ha sound, perhaps on an exhalation breath. Take a deep breath in. Ha. A few questions of inquiry as you lie here in Shavasana. How did you feel that you approached your yang practice? Was it easy for you to move with your breath? Was it easy for you to move with freedom in practice? Or do you prefer more guidance, more direction? Notice how you approach your poses in the yin portion. Are you able to switch from a yang energy to a yin energy? How you were feeling before the practice, how you feel now. Any predominant thoughts you may have had during your practice, repetitive thoughts you may have had. Any attitudes you may have held for the yin or the yang portion of your practice. All of these pieces of information that guide us towards our relationship with ourselves. How we operate on the mat is a reflection of how we are out there in the world. Taking a deep cleansing breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Slowly moving the body in any intuitive ways. Stretching out. and bend into the knees at some point, and rolling onto your right side. Or your left if you want to stay in that really calm, or sorry, you like to wake yourself up from the really calm place. And then from there, coming back to seated. And we'll finish off class again with a single Om, inhaling as you raise our arms up, and Oming on the way down, taking a deep breath in. Om. Namaste.